You know what time it is. Guys, we weren't going to leave you hanging, but I'm glad you're here to help me sip my tea today. It is the Thursday before Valentine's Day. I hope you've got your heart in mind for Saturday. If not, I'll be your Valentine. I got a husband, but remember that. But I'll be your Valentine extensively. But then on Monday, it's President's Day. So we got a lot to talk about. We got a lot to talk about. Get your tea and let's sip together. I'm telling you, my teacup is so hot right now. I can't even. Let me try. But the tea is piping hot. Let's talk about the mess yesterday. Never seen anything like this. If a woman would have done this, let's say Hillary Clinton, let's say Geraldine Ferraro, I'm going way back. Let's even say Kamala Harris. Let's say that. If someone would have done what Pam Bondi, the U.S. Attorney General, did yesterday, they would have been run out of town. They would have been a laughing stock. They wouldn't have a job. They wouldn't even be running for office. They wouldn't be anywhere to be seen. Remember that? How women have to be positioned and carry themselves because they know how America looks at us. Pam Bondi broke all of that yesterday, screeching, hollering. She had a burn book for all of the congressional leaders, particularly Democrats, anyone who looked at the Epstein files. She was like, and you looked at this page and you looked at that page. This is not the government that I know. This is not Lady Justice that's blind and the scales are equal. This is not Lady Liberty. Those ladies are going shame, just like I am today. I'm telling you, I don't know. Guys, this is so bad. I want you guys to play that tape. We did a listicle of everything she did yesterday. Guys, play it.
This is so ridiculous that she keeps going after President Trump, the greatest president in American history. And if they could maintain their composure, this isn't a circus, this is a hearing.
And this guy has Trump derangement syndrome. He needs to get, you're a failed politician. Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. We should be talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked.
Have you apologized to President Trump? Have you apologized to President Trump, all of you who participated in those impeachment hearings against Donald Trump? You all should be apologizing. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency.
Most transparent presidency. Wow. The most transparent presidency. But think about this, guys. Think about this. I'm trying to understand that she says that we need to apologize for President Trump or to President Trump. She never apologized to the Epstein victims yesterday. She never apologized. And with that, Congresswoman Jayapal basically had to apologize to the Epstein victims and stuff. Pam Bondi never turned around. And remember, from 2011 to 2019, she was the Florida AG, the Attorney General for the state of Florida. She had a chance to do something herself as she blamed it on the former Attorney General in the Biden administration. Pam Bondi, during her time as the Attorney General of the state of Florida, she said she was going after those who were dealing with human trafficking. Where was that Pam Bondi today? And actually, she didn't do it like she said she would. Look it up. Look it up. This is not myth or conjecture. I'm not going to keep harping on it, but we saw history. Let's watch how this plays out. And there's more history today on the Hill. Our next guest is María Teresa Kumar. I'm so honored to have her here. She's the president and CEO of Voto Latino. Hello, my friend. How are you? That's what I'm talking about. Let's sit together. And then knock the pot over. So you were on the Hill today. You were on the Hill today. What were you on the Hill? What was going on today? What was, you know what? You're not on camera right now. Hold on one second. We're having technical difficulties. Hold on, Maria. So you're not on camera yet. Just hold on. Guys, we're having a couple of things going on. This is crazy today. But what I want to do is go back. Guys, I'm hearing myself. I'm hearing an echo. So what I want to do is let's go back to what happened yesterday. Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader, he said, talking about Pam Bondi, guess what he said to her? It was disgusting. Everyone is calling it names and etc. But he said himself that it was disgusting and it was outrageous. So Pam Bondi, let's see what happens with her. Now, all along with all that's going on, let's talk about this next thing. Governor Wes Moore, he is the vice president of the National Governors Association. He was uninvited to the White House for the dinner next week. Is it racism or is it just, oh, I don't like him politically? I call it racism. The National Governors Association ultimately said, look, if you don't do him, it's one, all or nothing. If you don't do him, we're not coming. So guess what? Now we have to wait and see what happens. Wes Moore is right now the only Black governor in this nation. And Donald Trump specifically picked him out because according to Caroline Levitt, who said this week at the White House press briefing Tuesday, she says, well, Governor Wes Moore didn't attend last year's dinner. Who knows what was going on last year? He might have had to do something, go somewhere. But at this point, all of this accumulates to racism unless they can prove otherwise. So let's see what happens. Now let's bring on my friend who's drinking tea. Yes, Maria Teresa Kumar. Yes,
What do you have? What are you drinking? I'm drinking chai. What do you have?
I have
Oh,
turmeric and ginger, and typically
oh,
I have dandelion. Yes,
oh, that's very
devil
good.
the
It's good for your
stomach,
digestive and everything. It's like
Yes. So how are you, my friend? You were on the Hill yesterday. Well, today,
this morning.
actually.
Yeah, everything is going so fast. It might as
Yes.
well have been yesterday. I was like, oh,
So tell me what you were on the Hill for. It was on for immigration, right?
so yes, so if you saw, I mean, if you saw despicable scenes that have been happening by the oversight committee on the Republican side, they're basically trying to address all these issues by saying that they are not that ICE and DHS are not culpable for what they're doing, and so. Hakeem Jeffries and hats off to Robert Garcia, who heads up the oversight on the minority side, basically said it is time for us to have a shadow oversight hearing, bring in attorneys, bring in clergy, bring in law enforcement from Minnesota so that people can actually understand what is happening. Let's break this wide open. And so we went to the Hill with along with some other Latino leaders. One, to be present, then to have conversations with both Hakeem Jeffries and the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Chair Espaillat. I have to share with you, April, that one, the information that the Republicans want the American people not to hear is
Mm.
chilling. It's absolutely chilling.
What
There,
don't they want us to hear? Tell us, tell us.
one thing is that it was very direct. There was a veteran whose father had been detained by ICE, and Robert Garcia asked him point blank if what had happened to Alex Petrie or to had happened to Renee Good when you were serving overseas in a war, what would happen to you?
Wow.
And the veteran said, had I done this, basically killing, executing someone in cold blood while I was overseas in my military uniform, I would have been court-martialed and
Wow.
I would have been charged more than likely for a war crime. A war crime. That's not small. And that I think speaks to the magnitude of the moment where we're getting all this information and we're starting to get desensitized. And we cannot forget that it is disproportionately Black and brown bodies and our allies who are getting targeted. And we cannot allow this to continue.
I'm waiting for the international community. I'm waiting for The Hague. I'm waiting for the International Criminal Court. I'm
Hmm.
serious because this is inhumane. They have come in on so many other countries. What's happening in Minnesota specifically, in Los Angeles, in Portland, is inhumane and it's not right. And I want to go to this clip today of Ice Czar Holman, who
Mm.
said basically the mission is accomplished. And I want to get your reaction on the other end.
I'm very pleased to report that this search operation and our work here with state and local officials to improve coordination and achieve mutual goals, as well as our efforts to address issues of a concern here on the ground, have yielded the successful results we have came here for. The Twin Cities and Minnesota in general are and will continue to be much safer for the communities here because of what we have accomplished under President Trump's leadership.
What do you think?
I mean, first of all, I think your audience needs to be reminded that this is a man that took $50,000 in a kava bag, and DOJ under Bondi basically stopped the investigation. So Tom Homan has literally receipts where people know that he is someone for hire, number one. Number two, he clearly also knows that this strategy is losing, because not
Yes.
only are they leaving Minnesota, but they also announced that they are leaving Portland, they're leaving Los Angeles, and the list goes on. So they know that this is actually not working well for the American people, but the mission has not been accomplished. We want accountability for the deaths of individuals. You have at the highest level of deaths in 20 years under ICE. We want the impeachment of Nome because someone needs to be accountable. And then we need to have a better, clear understanding exactly what Stephen Miller is doing, because he seems to be the puppet president right now.
So Nome is not going to be impeached, nor will Donald Trump be impeached while Republicans are in power. We seem to be seeing what could be a blue wave, maybe a blue tsunami coming for this midterm. So that could be, do you think that they're going to do that once there's a change, they will go right after Nome and the president? Because ultimately the buck stops with the president for allowing this to happen.
It does, but I do think that the American people understand when someone is over their skis and not being held accountable, and Nome right now is clearly over her skis. She does not understand how it works. She has no accountability, and she's run. If you look at ICE itself, it's like the wild, wild west. There seems to be no training. They seem to be getting bounty for the people that they indiscriminately pick up, whether they're documented or not. And you're seeing, sadly, in places like Dilley detention, hundreds of children separated from their families. I mean, there's one child right now. She is, I want to say she's under 9 years old. She's been in detention for 113 days.
That's
Shame
ridiculous.
on us. And it's our tax dollar. And it's our tax dollars funding a for-profit operation of incarceration.
But Maria, I'm going to tell you, I'm shocked, but I'm not. Look at what happened first term. Look at what happened first term with Donald Trump. He's taken this to a whole nother level. And it was bad enough when he said, and I don't want to make this trite, but it was bad enough when he said, oh, we're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. We paid for it. And then he put these poor families in these these inhumane conditions. He's doing it again. I mean, this young lady, this 9-year-old that you're talking about, that's inhumane.
It's literally, so Representative Castro has been in the Dilley Detention Center. He is, it's part of the district that he represents. He's the one that freed the little 5-year-old with the little bunny hat and the backpack.
The one everyone thought was Bad Bunny was
right.
in Bad Bunny's
Liam Conejo. Well, I mean, what's wild is Conejo is bunny in Spanish. I mean, you can't have more alignment. It's so wild. Anyway, I spoke to him just on Monday. We had dinner, and one of the things he was saying is that the conditions that are holding hundreds of children is worse than people can possibly imagine. They are lacking food, they're lacking education, you name it. And again, what's wild is that this is not a government-run facility. These facilities are getting billions of tax dollars to provide medical care, to provide decent living, to provide people with actual food and medical reasons, and they're getting none of it. We should not only be angry, we should be protesting massively.
We should be. Pam Bondi, that was what it was billed as. It was about Minneapolis yesterday, originally when she was supposed to come and sit before the House Judiciary Committee. But it wound up going into everything. Do you feel that the congressional leaders did their best? Do you think that she gave you anything? I mean, it was disgusting. It was over the top and disgusting. What do you think? What do you think about yesterday?
Representative Crockett rocked it yesterday, because the way she phrased it, she said, I'm going to ask you questions that if child rape was okay, Bondi said no. if corruption on a sitting president was okay. She said no. She's like, and I'm asking you because if I asked you directly, you would not answer my question. So
Right.
now we have you on the record. But what really, I think, what she did such a beautiful job is that she also acknowledged that Pam Bondi is not only not doing her job of investigating serious crimes against women and children, those women, those survivors, were sitting right behind her. And she did not
Right.
have the decency to actually to very specifically say we may have been wrong. Instead, I've been having these conversations with so many people, and they're like, "Well, she's been lying." I said, "We still don't understand. They have she was talking to the president during her testimony
Yeah.
and to the base. That was it. And the base is so closed off from facts that they're living a completely different reality. And we do, I think, as progressives and people who deeply care about our country, need to figure out how to get into that media ecosystem to break that fever.
The question is, how long does the president stand by her? Because her performance yesterday was horrible. Yes, she did it for the audience of one, Donald
Yeah.
Trump. But the public opinion is so loud. And he might have said that she wasn't, the word was that she wasn't really doing enough. She overdid it yesterday. She was too foul. And
Oh my
that
gosh.
doesn't play well. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was so offensive because folks, oftentimes when we talk to young people, because they're learning about civics and our institutions under Donald Trump, they assume that the Department of Justice is supposed to work for the president. They are not. And
Nope.
so she is actually going against the Constitution, the separation of powers, and we need to have those conversations because at the end of the day, the more that she sits on that seat, the more our trust in institutions are eroded. And she is not the top law enforcement for the American people. She is the top law enforcement to cover up Donald Trump.
And the American public is really digging into this Epstein paperwork, these files. Life Touch,
Oh my
the
gosh.
portrait company that did a large swath of American kids'
Hmm.
class portraits in the Epstein files. The head of Chuck E. Cheese. I'm done. All with children,
That is wild.
isn't it?
It's wild. And I think it's one of the reasons why we just did a research piece on young people. And it's one of the reasons why young people just don't have a trust in institutions. And part of it is because the adults right now, the Republican adults in Congress, are not holding leadership and people in power into account.
That part. Now, with the time that I have left with you, what about the SAVE Act? Donald Trump says we should have IDs, but I hear Democrats, and I've heard this for a long time, we shouldn't have IDs for voter registration and things of that nature because a lot of people don't have cars. A lot of people who look like you and I are in
Mhm.
areas that we don't have cars and we cannot, it's discriminatory to even go and try to get a
Mhm.
registration or a license. So what do you think? What is your counter to Donald Trump if you had a chance to talk to him about the
So
state?
he, so he's like, oh God, I was like, if I have a chance to talk to him, my goodness. I was like, I would actually sit down with him and have, I think, a very straightforward conversation, if that ever happened. But I will share with you, April, he is trying to trump up a cause of voter fraud that does not exist.
Mm.
And we have to be very clear as communities of color that it sounds like it should happen, but in fact, say what it actually is very clearly. A national ID in this moment in time is a tax
Mm.
because you
Poll
have to,
tax.
it's a poll tax. And it basically wrapped up in a different way because you have to go stand in line, fill out paperwork, and you're going to have to pay for it. So if people really care about their elections right now and they want to prepare, go make sure that you're still on the voter roll because they're actively
Mm.
trying to purge Black and brown communities as we
Mm.
speak. The SAVE Act, again, if you are a married woman and you have not changed your name, it's going to affect you. If you have moved since the last election, it's going to impact you. And I can go down all the list. If we really care about our elections, what we need as citizens is to make sure one is that we are registered. So even if you voted last time, don't trust us. Go check yourself. Go check to make sure that your name is still on the voter rolls. Get your
Mm.
friends and then make a plan for November because the way we change this direction of this country is not one or two people trickling into the voting booth. It's millions of us marching to go vote.
Marching. And what people don't understand is when we're reading our history books, yesterday is today. This is the civil rights movement.
Of
Guys,
this century. That's
this
exactly right.
is the civil rights movement. And
That's
we
exactly right.
have to look at it as such and take the blueprint from back in the 50s and 60s, because this voter thing is one of the key components to
Mhm.
what they were marching. We are now voting without the full protections of the Voter Rights Act, and we are waiting for Louisiana versus Callais decision, and we already know that that's going to make. We believe that that's going to significantly change districts in Louisiana and could have a ripple effect across the nation before the midterms. Am I on with that?
April, they are telegraphing what they want, and they want basically a disenfranchisement of the majority of the American people. Our job is to be very clear, call their bluff, make sure that we are on voter rolls and that we are prepared to make sure that we have an action plan to go vote en masse come November.
Yeah. In the chat, Shauna said, looks like governors are turning into a democracy, defending force to be reckoned with. That's right. Nancy, we need them out of DC and Maryland as well. CB says, corrupt and vile administration. If there were ever a quote, wish I could reach through the TV moment, it was yesterday. Kendra, the bigger problem is obtaining birth certificates and marriage certificates to prove name changes. So that's where we are. And someone says the trajectory. We need big numbers. We need a Mount Everest sized blue tsunami.
We need an American tsunami. There's plenty of independents right now that are so angry with what's happening. We need Americans who care about country first to go out and vote, to be very clear. Like, the solutions will not come in November, but what it does is that it creates a checks and balances so that we could prepare for 2028.
And lastly, I wasn't really into the Super Bowl this year.
Oh
The
my,
Patriots,
that's
or I wasn't into the Patriots,
mhm.
or what's the other one? The one that
the
won. The
the
Seahawks.
Seahawks.
Yeah, that one. But I was into Bad Bunny. Oh, he was the winner.
Oh my gosh. I have to say, April, I watched it with my children and their friends, and we were at a friend's house. And, he's a white guy, but he had tostones and he had yuca and he just made it all up. And it was so beautiful to see my kids with his kids, solely completely different cultures, solely appreciate his nuance and his love and showing protest through music and culture. But it was also, I mean, for every Latino kid right now in America, it is a particularly hard moment. Latinos in America, April, and you'll understand, you'll appreciate that we are living a completely different experience. It doesn't matter right now if you're a documented, if you're a citizen, third generation. There's very few folks that I know that aren't walking around with passports or have had a conversation with their children. And so what Bad Bunny demonstrated was not only were they part of the American culture, but that we are part of that solution. And the beauty of it, like, he showed us in all hues and shades. He showed us in all of our wonder. And again, like I said, it was one of those moments where I think everybody just kind of had a collective sigh of relief and love, but also recognizing that the work is not done.
The work is not done.
Mhm.
Maria Teresa Kumar, the president and CEO of Voto Latino, thank you so much. The
Thank
work is
you.
not done. The work is not done, my sister. Thank you for joining me, Maria. And
Thanks,
speaking of the
Jackie.
work not being done, I am very honored to have the next guest. The next guest. Maria was so poignant, but our next guest is coming up. Um, you know who her name is. You know who she is. You know what she speaks for. As we talk about um, civil rights, this being a civil rights moment, the blueprint of yesterday, meaning the 50s and 60s, was built by her father from the blueprint of Gandhi, trying to get first class citizenship, trying to make sure we are all equal. And I can't help, and I've told our next guest this quite a bit, that her father has also always rung true for me. As a kid, I was a latchkey kid. And back in the day, I don't know if you all had it, but I had it. One of those stereo systems that looked like a coffin. And the 75s and the 33s. And I was that latchkey kid. I would come home and listen to Dr. King, not just the I Have a Dream speech, but the speech in Memphis before that day that he was taken from us. And with that said, I believe we have a good person who wants to join us today. Her name is Bernice King. Her title is Doctor. Hello. Hello
Hello, how are
there.
you? How are
I'm
you?
fine. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. It's been a while.
It's been a while, but you're not off my mind. You're not, you are no stranger to this moment and no stranger to me and no stranger to everyone. This is the baby girl of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King. And I was just at the museum this week, this weekend actually,
Which museum? Okay.
the Blacksonian, if you will, the National Museum of African American History and Culture. And I saw the Congressional Gold Medal with your mother and father on it. And I thought, I just stood there. I stood the whole civil rights movement. I stood there in awe because we are back here today. We are in this moment today. What do you believe is the prerequisite for us to be able to move forward to win like your father and all those lieutenants that marched with him?
Well, I may sound like a broken record because I say it over and over again. One, we're going to have to really study the philosophy and methodology that my father used of nonviolence. And it has to be embraced in a way that it is a daily pursuit. It can't be momentarily, it can't be embraced as a tactic because it is a daily discipline. It provides strategy. It helps to frame issues. It helps you to identify your goal. It prepares you to stand firm in your posture of not becoming like what you are trying to attack. And it requires ongoing vigilance. I know people say we're tired, and I get it. Not only are we physically tired, we're just tired of the same old nonsense and ridiculousness and ending up back in the same place when all people are yearning for is a recognition of dignity and equity in society across the board. Um, but, all of us have to be mature enough to recognize that evil is always going to be present. It's always going to operate through different vessels in every season, in every generation. And that's why my mother was so brilliant when she said struggle is a never, keyword, underline, bold, ending process.
Mm,
Freedom is never really won. You earn it and win it in every generation. So it's dynamic, and we have to be vigilant. We have to be zealous. We have to be engaged, and we can't be satisfied, for instance, when we believe we have the right people in place,
mm,
because progress, human progress requires constant engagement at all times from all of us. Uh, because again, when you think you've arrived and said, okay, whew, we got through that. Remember, those forces of darkness are still working and still operating to undermine and to undo and to take you back,
So, Dr.
push you
King,
back.
yeah. Listening to what you said, I just wrote this down, and this is what I got from it. Freedom is a practice,
Mm,
and then peace is a verb.
mm.
What do you think about that?
Peace is a verb.
I
I
have to
don't know if
practice it every day. You said it. You said
yeah,
practice.
no, no, sir. You got to practice nonviolence every day. I think peace is a state of that we're trying to get to. Nonviolence is definitely a verb.
Okay.
It's definitely a verb. Um, but again,
Action of peacefulness. Yeah.
and it's much broader than what we're doing now. You
Mm,
know, what we're doing by way of direct action, and there are different forms, as we know, of direct action. But if we don't organize in a manner that direct action translates into policy, policy, sometimes policy correction, not just new policy, but policy correction, translates into structural change, but also personal transformation. Because nonviolence is not just for them, it's for all of us to embrace.
So you talk about policy correction. I want you to listen to this. Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader, is basically saying tomorrow there's going to be a shutdown of DHS policy. They want a policy correction. They want to stop the inhumanity to our brothers and sisters in the Latina community, our brothers and sisters from the African communities, etc., when it comes to ICE. Let's take a look at this, and I want you to tell me about this, what you think about it on the other end.
At this moment, unless the White House and Republicans get serious on getting ICE under control and reining them in, then they're going to shut down the Department of Homeland Security on Friday. At the end of the day, it appears at this moment that the Trump administration could care less if the Coast Guard is shut down, FEMA is shut down, and TSA is shut down, because they'd rather protect the brutal tactics being deployed by ICE and DHS agents.
You talked about policy changes, that right there.
Well, the reality is, when we're talking about ICE, it's, it's bigger than ICE as we know it. We've been wrestling with immigration forever, it seems. There has to be a whole comprehensive approach to how we address immigration reform, pathways, protecting the borders, enforcement, proper enforcement, time out for people just being hired and not properly trained to treat people as human beings with dignity, worth, and value. So it's one thing to say, I know shut down ICE, but you still have to have something in place that's humane, that's just, that's proper. So even with nonviolence, we're not trying to cease conflict. We're trying to bring into being a true order of justice. So what does that look like? We have to wrestle with. We've been doing it generation from generation. But in order for a lot of this to happen, we got to raise up a different mindset of being in politics. We can't be running for different offices from different parties and our loyalty is to a party. Our loyalty first has to be to, well, for me, it has to be to God, but then to humanity, to what's right, to what's just. And sometimes it's not easy to get there because you're dealing with people who have opposite perspectives, but there has to be a commitment to work to the proper policy that's for the best of all involved. But at the end of the day, right now, just simple, basic, recognizing the humanity, worth, and value of an individual is critical. And that's what people are trying to stop, that bleeding. I mean, we're beyond bleeding now. We're gushing out. It's horrible.
It's deadly. It's deadly.
Yeah, it's dead. Well, it is. It's deadly. We know that.
Yeah. So
and the fact that children are a part of this equation is just,
it's horrible,
unbelievable, unthinkable, and tragic.
So as you talk about humanity to man, I can't help but think about a conversation, an interview the New York Times had with Donald Trump. And you've talked about this, but I need you to say this to our contrarians because I know they're hanging on your every word. Donald Trump said that the civil rights movement hurt white people. How?
Can I see the first evidence of that?
That part.
Well, that I mean, let's just look at what does that mean, really, at the end of the day?
Yeah.
First of all, some of the Civil Rights Act, affirmative action, perhaps even DEI, have benefited more white women than it has even the reason we first and foremost passed the Civil Rights Act, which had to do with the way the entire Black community had been treated and disenfranchised. So look at that. But then when I just look I just look across the landscape. Who still sits in the majority of seats in America, whether you're talking about corporate America, in the boardrooms, in the CEO seats, in the predominantly white institutions, universities. The list could go on and on.
Yeah.
Who gets the best loans? What communities are invested and economically developed
Yes.
the most? I mean, we could just go on and on and on. So what do we mean by hurt and harm? I always say, when people used to come to me about this whole issue about affirmative action and, this Black person took my seat. Well, you're talking about, let's just say there are 500 seats available, okay? And technically, in most instances, we didn't even get a representation of our actual percentage in the population. So let's just say, 500 in this class, and you only got 25 Blacks. And you're saying reverse discrimination. And I'm saying, no, you didn't qualify against your own kind. Let's deal with that.
I'm speechless. You preaching. Barbara says, so many times in this video, I've cried. I got a little tear coming up here too, because I got you, and you always move me to tears, whether you know it or not, whenever you talk to me. You're so profound. You're so knowledgeable. Someone also asked, please say more about the daily discipline. Paula asked about the daily discipline. Please say more on the daily discipline.
It's hard to say something about it in an interview because it really is about studying. When you study nonviolence, first of all, one of the things you begin to discover is that it requires a great amount of emotional regulation, emotional intelligence.
Take the passion
and
out.
emotional resilience.
Take the passion out.
It's a rechanneling of it so that it is used in a constructive manner and not a destructive manner. Anger is real. There's no sin again. The Bible tells you be angry. It tells you go ahead and be angry, but handle your anger appropriately. So you want to be in a posture and in a discipline that your goal is to continue to expose the injustice, the evil, the wrongdoing. You don't want to mix that up and the conversation starts talking about what you did that was violent or what you said that was violent, because it's easy for that to happen. And so you have to come to this daily. And if you're not prepared for it, that's why I tell people everybody shouldn't be out in the streets protesting and demonstrating. They were not in my father's movement. In Birmingham, they had to sign a pledge if they could not keep a certain kind of posture and discipline, and they were prepared. How do you protect yourself when people are attacking you? That kind of self-defense, but not the self-defense of somebody hit me, I'm gonna blow them back, because now we've lost. We've given them the power and the control, because violence requires more violence to feed it and to keep going. You have to starve violence. Nonviolence is the discipline that starves it and shuts it down eventually. It does not mean that it immediately happens. That's why it's a daily discipline and a practice and a commitment, and it requires strategy, it requires collection, it requires coordination, it requires collaboration. It's a whole process, and it has to be love-centered. You can't want something bad for your enemy because they did bad to you, because we're translating, there's energy in the universe, you all. We're thinking it's between me and you because you're so bad and evil and I'm just combating against you. No, you're spreading that in the universe when you join in the chorus of it.
I gotta pray on that one. I gotta pray. I gotta pray for
Most
me.
people do. Most people do. Trust me, it is not easy. But if you have a goal, if your nonviolence keeps you focused on the goal, that's what Daddy was trying to say. We're trying to get somewhere. And if we do this, we're not going to get there. That's just practical.
That's what Daddy was trying to say. Whew. All right, so you can ready to make me cry. Before we go, I got two questions for you. What about Fulton County? Because that's people are calling that racist, and I know.
Mhm.
And
I'm
then
wondering if
also,
they got my ballot, but go ahead. I live in
they
Fulton
got your
County.
ballot, but it's not secure now.
No, I
Nothing is
know.
secure.
Right.
And that's what your father and the lieutenants, that was the second piece after the Civil Rights Act was passed into law. Voting rights. What do we say? I mean, what happens now? We are getting ready to see a drastic change in redistricting. Fulton County, they're trying to relitigate 2020. Why? It's just crazy.
Are we asking a rhetorical question because we all know why?
I know.
You know, concentration, power, authoritarianism for the sake of, you know, continuing to feed and support, you know, you and your cronies. It's about power, control, and centralization. We know all that. We know this. We know what's happening.
And
And
so,
so we should not be surprised.
mm,
Stop being, I want to say to everybody in the South, stop being surprised by all of this. This is all happening over. The longer we keep staying in surprise, we lose the ability to have to think in a rational way to see through a pathway. I mean, and I know people may not understand this, but I've been saying this in other places. I keep thinking about Harriet Tubman over and over again because Harriet Tubman had no navigational system. She
mm,
had nothing to rely on. She had never traversed that pathway. And yet she was able to get out of slavery, get to the north, and come back, perhaps different routes, and go back different routes and bring others out. She allowed herself to be still enough. And I'm saying this to people because this is critical.
yeah.
This is serious. I know the energy of what's going on pulls us. But if we don't have quiet and still moments to get the mind of God, to
Ooh,
give us the navigational system to deal with this manner of complexity and evilness, you know, God has the answer. And I'm not talking about something rhetorical. I'm just saying you just pray and just sit still. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying Daddy did it. They had to have something to reveal something to him to say, this way, do that, not this right now, connect here, come together here, all that kind of stuff. And so this is a difficult hour
yeah.
because things have pushed things to the total edge. And at one point that we had the federal government as a means, kind of as a a way to get some things done. It seems like it's locked out, but there are things that we can still do on the ground. And let me tell you something about good. If we keep doing good, if we keep doing it out of a heart of love, something's going to break. That's all I can say. It's going to break. But again, it has to be strategic. We've got to come together more. I know we talk about that, but we still have too many silos because we need to figure out the strategy. And part of that strategy is going to come from God downloading to us so that we can work together collectively to overcome
See.
all of these tricks
Mm.
and evil things that are happening to humankind right now in this nation.
And I'm going to let you go on this. And I thank you, my dear sister. You know what I feel about you and your family. And you just amazing. And thank you for saying yes to coming and speaking to the contrarians. But you know, right now, this administration is looking at erasure. They're pulling down things, doing things. People are looking at the National Museum of African American History and Culture and other places. How can they support the King Center that you are running? And is there a concern with the King Center at this point?
Every day. I mean, we're struggling. We had a bad year. a very bad year. People don't support the King Center. Maybe they feel like we don't know who the King Center is, but if nothing else, it is the official living memorial to the life, work, and legacy of Martin Luther King. At least 1 million people think so, who come there every year. They don't even give. I'm asking people, start giving to us, because we have a blueprint that I believe, through time and through people beginning to fully understand that nonviolence is much broader than a social justice tactic, that we can begin to cycle out of some things, because we have an ability to make sure that we have, and I'm going to use this word again, the emotional intelligence outside of the natural intelligence, and we have the higher consciousness and the ability to bring strategies to change and truly transform things that that become sustainable for humanity. So, bottom line, $5, $10, $100, and do it regularly, consistently, all the time. We have an online. If you want to begin the process of understanding the foundation of nonviolence, go to the King Center, sign up for the masterclass at your own pace, or the workplace edition, which is 3.5 hours, 14 to 16 hours for the masterclass. Because as Daddy said in his 64 Nobel Peace Prize lecture, not the acceptance speech, I suggested the philosophy and strategy of nonviolence immediately become a subject of study, and then serious experimentation in every field of human conflict, by no means excluding relations between nations. Nonviolence belongs to all of us, and there's a fierce urgency of now for us to learn it and to live it on a daily basis.
Thank you. And I'm imploring all of you contrarians, all of you tea sippers, please make sure you're asking about how you can do this daily discipline. Reach out to the King Center. Donate, 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 donate. Donate. There's no excuse. Donate. This is important work.
And just so for your listeners, you're not donating to me. I've not made a dime from the King Center since I've been there in 14 years. I'm in my 15th year. So I just wanted to say that, because some people in their minds, they go there.
This is about the work.
This is going to the work,
yeah,
and to the same sustainability. I want people who have been there imagine there's no more King Center, period.
And I hate to say this, in this era, the golden era,
and we have been here now for 58 years in June.
Along the King Center, you go by Ebenezer Baptist Church, you go to
and the birth home.
And yes, and then you walk down the street, the shotgun houses where your family, your dad and your
But they grew up across the street from the shotgun houses.
Oh, okay, yes. Yeah, okay. Well, yes.
Well, he was born, should I say. He was actually born in the house on Auburn Avenue. Yeah. He and his siblings.
Yeah. So guys, please donate.
But now there are two separate things. There's the Park Service, which is not the King Center. We just sit in the boundary lines of the Martin Luther King Jr. Historical Park. But the King Center is a 501c3 charity that sits on its own land, where my parents' final resting place is located, in a beautiful reflecting pool. And stay tuned, because we're in the process of preparing for my mother's 100th next year in April. My dad's in January of 2029, which will actually be his actual birthday, January 15th. 2029, he'll be 100. And as a part of this, we are going to be rebuilding a new King Center. We're right now getting ready to go through a feasibility study. So a whole new experience is coming to people, where we can begin to kind of centralize and present the teachings of Dr. King in new and innovative ways with technology as people come through our grounds.
And this is important, guys. You keep talking about, oh, we're going through this. How do we figure it out? The King Center, the teachings and the readings, all
and we have an archive, April.
Okay. All right. Well, tell us everything you got.
Look, let me play this out, because this is important. We have the largest repository of primary source materials. That's key. That's first person, related to the civil rights movement under my father's leadership. His physical papers, part of them, not all of them, were sold to the city. Cities donated to Morehouse. Morehouse has a relationship with the National Center for Civil and Human Rights, who displays those. We have a few that are left. We still have copies, but my mother's is a part of this now.
Yes.
My mother's archive is sitting in boxes. We have an archive that's still sitting in boxes. We need to be able to process these things, catalog them. We need to be able to give metadata, organize them, and then digitize them.
And your mother
that
was
takes
just as much. Your mother was
multi-millions. Yes, my mother, there's so much that people need to understand about what Coretta Scott King did in the city of Atlanta, what she contributed, and the value she contributed to this nation. There's something I just found out about the Federal Reserve and how they set interest rates, and my mother's fight for full employment.
And that's why you were at Lisa Cook.
That's why I was at Lisa Cook. She and I went to Spelman together, and that's why I was there with her. Yes.
Wow.
So please, the King Center needs a lot of multi millions. This archive is endangered if we don't figure out how to get it all processed and eventually digitized. You talking about wiping out history? We have important history here, y'all. Stuff to learn from that's not just history. You're going to begin to understand, oh, people are going to discover more about Operation Breadbasket because everybody seems to think that, what did my father do on the economic front? Oh, yeah. There are actual outcomes economically that happened. My father was building and in the process of creating a strong economic engine for the Black community, building an economic infrastructure through Operation Breadbasket. And people don't even know the half of what they had already accomplished because it's still, contained in boxes.
And if your father and Robert Kennedy Sr. would have lived, they would have done the issue of poverty. Poverty for all, not just for Black folks. Guys.
For everybody.
Yes. If Robert Kennedy Sr., you notice I put senior on that.
Right.
And Martin Luther King Jr. lived, they would have dealt with poverty and they probably would have eradicated it in this nation.
It would have been minimal.
Reverend Dr. Bernice King, thank you for always showing up for me. You got everybody all spellbound. Let me know how it works out because I'm telling you all, please donate. Like Dr. King said, $5, $20, $50, $100, $1,000, $1 million, whatever you can do. It's important in this moment. We need the blueprint.
Yes, we need.
Don't act like you're lost. We got the blueprint. It's right there in Atlanta.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you all.
Love you and appreciate you.
Love you more.
Thank you to your audience. Okay.
Oh, Reverend Dr. Bernice King. Whew. That King family means a lot to me because if it had not been for Dr. King, I would not be the longest serving Black White House correspondent in history. If it's not for the children to continue to talk, if it's not for the children to continue to talk about what's going on, we wouldn't know how to navigate these very murky and deadly waters. Freedom ain't free. We've got to practice peace. I want to go to the chat really quick. Iris, we are in what I call the great unraveling of systems that have never worked. That's why everything is so crazy. For real change to occur and the evildoers held accountable for just systems to take benefit all. Let me see, that might have been for women, for real change to occur and the evildoers held accountable for just systems to take benefit all. Okay, that might have been miswritten, but we got it. Omar, honored to see Sister Dr. Bernice King, and I am continuously inspired by her work and example. I try to live it every day and do the work in my own way. All caps. Thank you, Omar. Susan says, Bernice King is my hero, and her dad was my mom's hero. He should be yours too still. Hope, human dignity, morality are the basis of nonviolence. Leslie says, thank you for another outstanding show and guest. Thank you, Leslie. Today has been one of those days. But I'm going to tell you, we got through, and I'm so thankful for all the guests that came. And as I said earlier, the Super Bowl meant a lot to me. I am not Latino, but those are my Latino brothers and sisters. I'm a respecter of religions. I'm a respecter of faiths. I'm a respecter of cultures. And Bad Bunny was everything to me, from the light pole that he went up to. And that signified the fact that many people in Puerto Rico there is unstable electricity. And he wanted to signify, hey, the resilience of the people to make power. The sugar cane, when it first came out, I said, oh, that's sugar cane when I first saw it. Do you realize sugar cane was that issue, the first crop that slaves had to tend here, black descendants of, well, no, the enslaved Africans in America, that's what the first crop that they did, sugar cane, sugar cane. Go to the Museum of African American History and Culture and you'll see that. I mean, it was just so many different things to the beautiful storefronts of real Puerto Rican shops to the gentleman who was selling tacos. It was just beautiful. It was beautiful. Way to go, Bad Bunny. This was my first time watching you, and I will continue to watch you. I just enjoyed it. But guys, what I want to do, I want to say Happy Black History Month. And I want to thank you for watching. This is a civil rights moment. And don't believe it's nothing else. It is none other than a civil rights moment. We're trying to fight again for equality, for first-class citizenship for all, for humanity for all. We've heard from two great people, María Teresa Kumar, as well as Reverend Dr. Bernice King. And you heard her mandate, give, 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 give to the King Center. We don't want to lose those blueprints that gave us so much. If it had not been for Dr. King and all of those others, those Jewish rabbis, those white Americans, Latino brothers and sisters, everybody who marched with him, I would not be here today. I would not be here with you today. Think about that. I'm going to tell you, we shall overcome someday. And with that, I want to leave you with something else from the Super Bowl. Lift Every Voice and Sing by Coco Jones. Have a great evening.
Every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Face